It was all a dream.
One sec. The ears are all twisted. All right, what's happening, everybody? It is Happy St. Patty's Day. You Detroit Lions decided to strike. Good luck, Leprechaun. Delivered us an edge rusher today. Finally, the Lions decided to, well, maybe it's an outside linebacker. I mean, he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4. Has been for his entire career. Literally just got a chance to do the premiere on the DJ Wonnum video. I recorded it like 2 hours ago. It took about an hour and a half or longer just to upload to YouTube. No, I'm not sure why. And as I kept trying to release it, it kept getting checked and checked and checked and checked and checked. And then finally, we did the premiere. We're about halfway through the premiere, and Brad Holmes decides to tell everybody, hey, we just signed DJ Wonnum. So great stuff in that premiere video. I broke him down, I thought, pretty well. I didn't mince words with it. I thought it was going to be a great move. Risky, yes. Good move, yes. And I think as you get a little bit deeper into the ability of DJ Wonnum, I think it turns into a great move. And particularly it's because, God, I got to find all my notes now. Particularly it's because of what he does in the run game and what he, how he performs differently than what Aiden gives us, right? And so Aiden, high motor, doesn't want to take any plays off. And I feel like that burns him out. And as we've been talking on this channel now for a couple of weeks during free agency, I've been kind of flirting with this idea that, and I said this in the video as well, are we going to go more to, or are we going to get into more of a 4-2-5 nickel base defense, which is something that I have been screaming and hollering for the last 2-3 seasons at least to do more of. And it's what you see a little bit more out of in Seattle and New England and a couple of other teams that have really good defenses that, they have more DBs on the field. They use speed. They get, bigger DBs that can hit like linebackers. And then you have defensive ends that are faster, right? A little bit lighter. And then you have defensive ends that are a little bit heavier. And the Lions really don't have... We really don't have that end on the other side right now. So I think that DJ Wonnum could be Aiden's backup. And I think that, honestly, it pairs very well with what Aiden doesn't do, like where I was headed with all this is, Aiden is not the best in the run or against the run. He's more of a pure pass rusher. No, he's not a specialist. He's not just a third down guy. But I do believe that this gives Brad and Dan and Shep an opportunity to go to Aiden and say, look, we have to do what's right for the team and what's right for you. It's never been, and I think there's a misconception, so let me kind of back up. I think there's a misconception with what people think about a guy on the opposite side of Aiden or somebody to help out Aiden. It's not because you're it's not because you're really trying to help Aiden to a degree, because he won't come out of the damn game. I mean, Shep told us last year, you go to that player, you ask him to take some plays off, and he doesn't do it. When you're consistently 95% of the snaps, eventually your body's going to wear down, and it's going to wear down quick. If you're running 1,000 snaps, 4 out of 5 seasons or 3 out of 4 seasons, eventually it's going to catch up to you. If it wasn't for the broken leg, at what point was it going to be an, MCL, PCL, ACL, Achilles, something, right? Because as your body is continually going through all these reps, and as hard as he works, at some point he could have a major catastrophe. Well, he kind of already did, so let's hope he doesn't have another one. But that's also why he has to play smarter. And I think that DJ Wonnum offers that to the Lions. And again, I said all this in the video where I was hoping that they were going to sign Wonnum. I thought it'd be a great fit, and I'm glad that they did, because this gives us more versatility in the draft. We're not sticking and picking if we don't need to, and you're going to give Aiden an opportunity to be out on first down or second down, whatever makes the most sense. If maybe it's first down, maybe he's in for second, third, and fourth down more often. I think down and distance matters. I think if it's second and short, you take Aiden out. You want to put in a guy that is better against the run. You want to stiffen up a little bit. Maybe you bring in an extra defensive tackle. You go 3 defensive tackles and 2 defensive ends, both defensive ends that are good against the run, and you shut it down. Which brings me to that other point with 2 linebackers. And I'm not saying we're going to a 4-2-5 base, like that's going to be our base. But doesn't it seem kind of odd that, we really didn't tack free agency at the linebacker position a little bit more? When I got the intel that said that they were doing their homework on DBs and linebackers, DBs made sense. Linebackers, of course, made sense because we only had 2 on the roster. But now we brought our guys back. We didn't go outside of free agency, but now this kind of makes me wonder, where is DJ Wonnum in this conversation? I don't see DJ Wonnum as a will linebacker. And if that's where they're going to deploy him, that would be nuts. But that's not what I see. So he's on the line is where I'm expecting him to be. And probably going to be in a stand-up 2-point stance more often than not, which, again, last year we saw Calvin Shepard finally start to put Aiden in a 2-point stance, which we really haven't seen since his rookie season. And it worked on some plays, not every play, but it worked on some plays. So I guess where I'm going with all of this brainstorming, puke on you guys is things are changing. I think I have this intuition here that things are changing with this defense a little bit. So whether it is the 4.25 base, whether it is more of the nickel packages that the Lions are going to be in, primarily they've brought in run stuffers. You know, Christian Izzian, Roger McCreary, DJ Wonnum, Malcolm Rodriguez. All of these guys are great against the run. Rock Ya-Sin. Who else do we bring in? I think that's it. Isaiah Pacheco, obviously he's running the football. Trevor Nowatzki, I mean, he's okay. I wouldn't say that he's great against the run. I don't have any PFF open. If anything, I always thought that Trevor Nowatzki bit a little bit against the run. Kind of bit on the fakes and lost his leverage more often than not. Let's just take a look. Let's take a look. Hope you all doing great tonight. Know it's St. Patty's Day. If you're out celebrating or whatever you're doing, please be responsible. Don't drink and drive. Call a friend, call a taxi, call an Uber. Walk. It's $10,000 or more if you get pulled over. Just remember that. And you definitely don't want to hurt somebody. So be safe tonight. Or safe all day like it used to be when I was younger, man. We would be out all day. Dressed up, hitting the town. Good time. I was young back then. All right, let's pull PFF in. Let's just take it. We'll start with Nowatzki, then we'll go right to DJ Wonnum. I just went over some of this stuff in the video, but obviously, if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, the premiere, which I don't think we had that many people in, maybe 50 or 60. Yeah, 57.1 against the pass rush, 68.2. So I have him wrong, but the problem is he didn't have enough snaps. So this 68.2, I don't even know why they put it up there because it doesn't count. You know, he doesn't have enough snaps to allow it to count. That's the problem. So that number is not factual, you know? It's not factual. Trevor Nowatzki last year. Well, hold on. Where's he getting all his snaps from? Probably special teams? Yeah. Yeah, primarily special teams. It looks like on the defense, less than 100 snaps. Punt coverage, kick return, punt return, field goal, block unit, 404 snaps overall, but almost all special teams, or at least about 75%. So, yeah, like I said, not enough snaps in defense or on defense to really care about those grades. Let's go back to 24 real quick. I think he had a few more snaps back then. Come on, slide over. There we go. There you go. 632 total, 292 on the D-line. So that should have been enough. I think you need at least 250 by PFF metrics. Defense was red, so that can't be good. All right, here we go. Run defense overall 55.5. Now, again, I don't take PFF at its face value. It is just a talking point. Film will tell us more, but I mean, I watched every game. I watched every snap, and I think I know that Trevor Nowatzki is not great against the run. So you bring guys in that they can do things that other guys can't. What Trevor Nowatzki does do well at is he's great on special teams. So DJ Wonnum. Now, again, I just went over all of this. I'll try to go through it, fairly quick. Tonight's a recap anyway on what we just did in free agency because, well, we signed somebody today. Now, unfortunately and fortunately at the same time for Wonnum, he had that major that major quadriceps tear where he tore the muscle in the quad, a very similar injury to what DJ Reader had, and he lost. Was at the end of 2023, I believe. It was the end of 2023. Get my notes. And in 2023, when he had his 8 or 9 sacks that year, that was the last year that he played with Danielle Hunter in Minnesota. So that season kind of gives you an idea of what DJ Wonnum and Aiden could look like. I think it gives you a good idea if they're paired up, at the same time, which they should be. They should be. I'm just hoping that he's good because, some of the things that I dug into and some of the information that I gathered, it sounded like, he's kind of lost a little bit of that first step buzz. That initial explosion was kind of missing last year. And that could explain, a big drop in his statistical output last season. But when we evaluate a guy like this, I've got to watch film. And I haven't been able to watch, any film yet. I watched some highlights briefly, but that's not going to do anything. So if you take a look at his stats here, going back to 2023, that was his best season. 38 total pressures, 9 sacks, 6 hits, 23 hurries, 5 batted passes. That number gets me excited. I want to see that back again because, like I said in the video, those are just like TFLs or sacks, man. They're meaningful. 36 total tackles, 17 were assisted, so about 50-50. 6 missed for only a 10.2% missed tackle rate. That's actually pretty solid. And 32 stops, which that's amazing. That's good stuff. Especially when you consider the fact that his snap count against the run defense was 278 and 826 total, but 278 dedicated run defense snaps, and he has 32 stops. So you do the math. What is that, about 1.6%? A 1.6% stop rate? My math could be way off, but I think that's what it is. 32 divided by 278. It might be a little higher than that. Or a little lower than that, honestly. No, wait. 11.5%? 11.5. I was way off. 11.5. I missed the decimal. 11.5%. Missed the decimal in my brain. So, I mean, the numbers aren't like shocking, right? They're not like, wow, this guy's amazing. But again, I'm going to defer to the tape because DJ Wonnum brings the requisite height, weight, good speed. First step we've got to take a look at. Long arms, so he can engage and disengage. He can get first into the chest plate. He can get that long stab arm out on the inside shoulder, which I noticed on a couple of the highlights that I watched that he was using that long stab arm on the inside of the left tackle, which is a tough move. It's one that helps you control the left tackle as long as you can keep your hips balanced and you keep your feet moving, you keep driving, you keep bending around that corner. You're going to get to that quarterback because the way that it contorts a left tackle, it pushes them at an angle at the quarterback. If you take the right shoulder, so when you're facing a left tackle on the right side of the defense, if you take the right shoulder, the outside shoulder, well, all the left tackle has to do is shimmy and swipe, and they can get you off, and then they can counter strike. So the inside shoulder, it when you make contact with that, what's going to happen is probably one of two things. Either you're going to win the rep or they're going to cause a penalty. So that inside shoulder strike is a tough move, and it's one that I noticed popped up for him a couple of times. So DJ Wonnum's going to be a good signing, man. I'll just go through a couple of quick things here in my notes, and then we'll kind of go through every free agent really quickly. Like I said, 30 career sacks, 34-inch arms, 34 and a quarter, 34 and an 8. It just depends on where you're reading it from. That severe quad injury, like I said, it derailed his production at Carolina. And after operating as a stand-up linebacker in the 3-4 system over the last few seasons, it's possible that either they see him as a 4-3 base guy, that he has the ability to do it, or we might be changing things up a little bit. Now, like I said, I tore into the medicals and kind of broke him down. Fairly healthy guy throughout his career. Just that quad injury was the most glaring injury that I noticed. There could be something else that I missed, but that was the most glaring one that I noticed. As a rookie, I mean, he really hit that developmental curve pretty quickly, and I thought that he was playing at a fairly high level. The medical reality is, the Week 16 game in 2023 is when he suffered that torn quadriceps. I mean, that put him down for almost a year, right? It was about nine months or so. And again, same kind of injury DJ Reader came back from. And we've seen what has happened with DJ Reader. I think that he lost a little bit of a step, but he was still productive. He was never going to be that high productive guy, but he's still productive. And to comment on DJ Reader, by the way, since I mentioned him, this morning I highlighted this article that said that he can't find a job. Well, that's all BS. Just because he hasn't signed somewhere doesn't mean that he doesn't have offers, doesn't mean that he's not going to sign. He's a free agent. He doesn't have to sign. And a lot of older vets sign after the draft because teams want to get through the draft and see what they're able to pick up. And if they can't pick up the right players, well, now those 29, 30, 31, 32, 33-year-old vets, they look a little bit better to you. And so that's when you bring them in. I don't think that's the case for DJ Reader at all. I did reach out to my guy to see if he knew anything. I haven't heard anything back. I think if you factor in the limitations post-surgery with DJ Wonnum, the one thing that I did find that was a little alarming is that he had some post-surgical issues, and I'm trying to find my notes right now. It mentioned blood clots and some other issues that, he was trying to come back from, and so his 2024 season was not as not as good because he was still dealing with, post-surgical stuff. So it delayed, what he was going to be able to do his first season back. I think it also explains some of that first step quickness that maybe he lost. And that's something I guess to keep an eye on, but honestly, he's already played an entire season. So a lot of that's probably hindsight at this point. They're not as worried about it. Where's my medicals at? Yeah, so it said in Carolina, he was heavily compromised by severe post-surgical complications, including infections and blood clots, and it forced him to miss half of the 2024 season. And by the end of his 2025 season, he was operating primarily as a rundown specialist, hitting free agency as a veteran looking to reestablish his value. So again, another depreciated asset that Brad Holmes finds, and he's exactly what I think he is right now headed to Detroit, that rundown specialist. Give Aiden a break. I think that Aiden at 75% is going to be a much more dominant football player when he's on the field than an Aiden running 95%. So give Aiden a break. All right? Break him off a little bit of that Kit Kat bar. Whatever you got to do, give him a damn break. But Aiden's got to be able to stay off the field too. He has to learn to just accept the fact that he can't just be an Iron Man all the time. And what's better for the team is better for the team. I don't know about you, but if I'm making $30 million a year, I'd love to take a snap off. That just means I'm making more money per snap. I'm just kidding. Scheme fit, like I said again, this is an odd one for me. I have not seen Brad bring in a 3-4 outside linebacker before and put him into a 4-3 scheme. I'll repeat myself one more time. This either means we've got some sort of a schematic change going on, or do they just feel like he's going to be a good fit against the run, which could be it. And then pass situations, of course. It's a perfect move. Brad Holmes now is operating with fluidity inside this draft. There is not one position of need. Not one. The Lions have pretty much settled everything for the most part. I don't know. You tell me. Is there a glaring need somewhere other than left tackle? I mean, that's Penei Sewell, right? For right now, we can just consider that could be Penei Sewell. We've shored up the cornerback room. Maybe linebacker is the only other room that could use some help. But outside of that, I think that, we're operating at a good clip. Also this morning and last night, I released another video about the truth about Brad Holmes and the free agency period. This is what he does. He does the 1-year deals, and they've worked. They've worked masterfully for what the Lions are trying to do. See, how many people do we have in? 60, 70, somewhere in that range? I got to get back to doing some more night shows. All right, who's in the chat? Still say left tackle. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's still a hole. Arf, what's happening, man? Tilla says Danny, Dennis, Sutton, best Raz among those three. Not sure who those three are. I think Attila likes to have his own conversations in the chat at times. KCB Sports Network. What is KCB Sports Network? Linebacker class is the deepest class in over 10 years. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not so sure about that. I think the linebacker class is pretty thin, honestly. Pretty thin. You'll get some depth guys, later in later rounds. But bona fide starters with requisite arm length and speed and the height and the coverage ability. This is a very thin draft. Very, very thin from that perspective. Inside linebackers, yes. Outside linebackers, no. It's very thin on the outside. So maybe you're talking about inside, but we don't really need any inside linebackers. Unless we're bringing in competition and saying, Malcolm's, hey, you're up against it. Nowoski, you're up against it, and you bring in some inside backers. That's cool. But we're good with Jack in the middle, and Barnes is our starter unless they're trying to trade him, which I doubt. I just don't see us bringing in a ton of inside backers when we need a will linebacker on this team like ASAP. You like Jackus? So I think Jackus is probably fifth, maybe fourth. KCB Sports says Danny Desson, Gabe Jackus, and or Zion Young. Well, Zion Young's an edge at the next level. Danny Dunn-Sutton's an edge. Gabe Jackus. Isn't Gabe Jackus quite small? Or am I thinking of the other guy? I haven't watched 1 ounce of film on Jackus. Get him pulled up. We might as well do some mock drafts tonight because there's not a whole lot to talk about. But let me run through all the players that we got in so far, and then I'll look at Jackus. Got the computer fixed today. Gotta love OBS, man. What a pain in the ass. All right, here you go. Here's your free agent so far. The Lions have lost Alex Anzalone to Tampa, El Quadin Muhammad to Tampa, Amik Robertson to Washington, Roy Lopez went back to Arizona, Khalif Raymond, the next Benedict Khalif Raymond went to Chicago, Grant Stewart went to L.A., Kyle Allen went to Buffalo, and Tyrus Wheatthins went back to Dallas. The Lions signed Cade Mays. Right now, he is the leading center. I think that position is still up for debate. Larry Borum, he's a right tackle. Rocky Sin could be a starting corner. Could push Terry and Arnold. Definitely can back up either side. Christian Izien, box safety and nickel defender. Tyler Conklin, tight end. Tom Kennedy, wide receiver. Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback. Trevor Nowoski, Sam linebacker, inside linebacker. Isaiah Pacheco, running back. Malcolm Rodriguez is functioning as our will linebacker right now. Also, Mike linebacker by trade. Roger McCreary, definitely interior nickel slot defender. He has also played to the boundary. He could push outside if needed. So good flexibility between Roger McCreary and Christian Izien, Zayn, Achan, I don't know, whatever you want to call him. Christian I. And then not listed is DJ Wonnum. DJ Wonnum reported 1 year, $6 million deal. signed tonight with the Detroit Lions as our next edge rusher. Yeah, KCB Sports. We get like 24 people that watch that don't like, share, and subscribe. It's the same 24. It's a lot of the other local media that want to, hear what I'm saying. But other than that, just about everybody else does. Been doing pretty well there. Usually we got a couple hundred people in here. Let's see. Who else is in here tonight? Cruising. Nightbot. Nightbot's at it. What's he doing? Hey, thank you for joining today's stream. Cheers to your happy day. Okay. Nightbot's in here again. It says, don't forget to get your Detroit Lions raffle tickets today. Only $5. Isaac Tesla jersey. buymeacoffee.com/rockdown. Tap the link there in the chat. It'll bring you right to it. Tony Valip says first pick will be Caden Proctor and final Super Bowl piece we need. And I think that's one. I think that's one of the pieces. Now, I entertained a couple of trade options. Really pissed off a lot of people today, which isn't that every day, it seems like. But I do want to talk about a couple of things. A lot of Lions fans mention that we should be spending all this money in free agency. Oops, hold on. Come on, get back. We got to spend all. What is going on here? It won't go back to me. Hold on, timeout. There it goes. OBS is crooked. We should spend all this money in free agency, right? And just go in the hole, go in debt, don't worry about it, go all in. But what happens if you don't make the Super Bowl? You could do everything perfect. You could draft the right guys. You could sign the right free agents. And all it takes is a handful of injuries, and you're not making it. The healthiest teams typically go. So I'm looking at the Dolphins. I'm looking at the Dolphins today. And the Dolphins are paying $175 million in dead cap money to players that are no longer on the team. Tua Tagovailoa, $50 million. Tyreek Hill, $28 million. Jalen Waddle, $26 million. Jalen Ramsey, $21 million. Minkah Fitzpatrick, $13 million. Bradley Chubb, $11 million. Terrion Armstead, $11 million. James Daniels, 4.8. Zach Wilson, 3.8. Alec Ingold, $2 million. Jonnu Smith, 1.7. Nick Westbrook, 1.6. Matthew Judon, 1.4. Jason Sanders, $500,000. Cam Smith, $500,000. And then Mohamed Kamara, $160K. $175 million. That's what happens when you go out and buy a bunch of free agents. At some point, you're going to pay the piper. And now the Dolphins are going to live in a miserable place for probably the next 3 seasons, at least. And they've already been miserable for multiple seasons. So it's not looking good. And I just don't want to see that happen to Detroit. I really don't. Earlier today, there was a major trade that happened with Jalen Waddle. He went to the Broncos in exchange for a first, a third, and a fourth. Okay, so me being who I am, I posted a picture of it and I said, okay, would you trade Jameson Williams for that type of a haul? A first, a third, and a fourth pick swap. Well, 18,000 people have jumped in there and there's handfuls of comments. And one of them said, well, why would we do that if we paid more than that for JMO? We didn't pay more than that for JMO. We essentially paid a third-round pick because we swapped first, we exchanged seconds, and then we sent a third, and we got JMO. That's how that whole deal went down. So if you literally bought JMO for a 3rd round pick and you sacrificed about 20 spots by moving back on a pick, you've got really good upside into a trade. Even if you got a 2nd round pick back, you're still ending up in the positive. I don't think that would be good enough, but you get what I'm saying. If you were to get 2 2nd round picks, you're winning. If you get a 1st and a 2nd, you're winning. A 1st and a 3rd, you're winning. So we got the dude for a 3rd, and that's why I kind of brought it up, because that kind of a haul, a 1st, a 3rd, and a 4th swap, that's really good draft cap for a receiver at that kind of money. You know, JMO's going to be making $27 million a year soon. So those things are just, popping off of my brain today. Like I said, it pissed everybody off, but it is what it is. And then the other thing, we keep hearing about the Lions not being great at drafting, that Brad Holmes fumbled the bag in 24 and 25. They were the worst drafts ever, and yada, yada, yada. I don't know about you, but bringing in Tyleik Williams, who was a top 12 defensive tackle through the first 7 weeks, lost some snap counts when Ali McNeil came back, still played pretty well. He's going to have a huge, huge year this season. He's definitely worth it. Tate Ratledge, I'm blaming Johnny Morton for that whole disaster. But Tate Ratledge had a really good year. Could have been a lot better, but he's also a rookie, right? And that offensive line was trash. And then there's 2024. I mean, Terry Arnold's been banged up. Ennis Rakestraw's been banged up, which, by the way, Ennis said, look, he's fine. He's healthy. Quit asking about his health. He's good to go. He's ready to compete. He's ready to hit the field on day one. So he's healthy. He's ready to go. Terry Arnold's healthy. He's ready to go, or she'll be very soon. The Detroit Lions, according to Steve Palazzolo, based on the production value added, the best drafting teams since 2021, the Detroit Lions are in 2nd place behind the Rams, ahead of the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Bucks. All of those teams are playoff teams. All of those teams are contenders and have been for the last 3 seasons. Lions not so much as last year. Since 2022, so removing 21, the Lions are in 5th place. Guess who's in 2nd? The Seahawks. The Rams are still in 1st. The Bucks and the Eagles swap spots. The Bucks are in 3rd. The Eagles are in 4th. So what does that mean? Here's what it means. I've told everybody the reason why the Seahawks won is because they've been drafting extremely well. And when they went to the Super Bowl, they only had 4 free agents. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit because we've talked about this a couple of times. But that's why it's so important that Brad is doing what he's doing now. He's filling the holes in free agency. He's adding some solid athletes, right? Some good football players. He's adding some depth. And now you're heading into the draft and you can do whatever you want. So Brad is operating from out front. He's going to be able to go in and draft and do whatever he wants to do to make this team better. The fact that we've been operating as a top 5 drafting team since 21 and 22, I think that tells you all you need to know. Brad hasn't fumbled the bag. Brad has done just fine. There's no reason to be worried. Every year, people are worried. And then every year, those same people go in and root for the Lions. And that is the biggest oxymoron if there was one. What's happening, King SJ? Haven't seen you around, man. How you been? King SJ is up in Toronto. Got a few Canadians in here. Mike P, is you saying you don't have a left tackle? I mean, we technically do. But that's what I'm saying. Brad can do whatever he wants. If he wants to reach at 17, and if Caden Proctor really is, an end of the first round prospect and you want to reach at 17 and take Caden Proctor, do it. You know, if at 17 you decide that you want to move back and you want to add another day 2 pick, do it, because that would probably be the best move. Or if you want to move all the way up to the front of the draft and you want to grab Arvel Reese or Sonny Styles or even David Bailey, do it. All I'm saying is there is no reason to stick and pick in this draft. Not one. There's no reason. Do whatever he wants to do. That is nuts if he's listed as a Sam. I mean, he definitely wouldn't be a Sam, and ESPN is drunk. They're absolutely drunk. It's definitely not a Sam. They get that stuff wrong all the time. Our lads usually is pretty close. I just pulled it up. DJ Wonnum listed as a Sam behind Derek Barnes. They also have where is it? I saw something else on here earlier. That's why I got rid of it. Where is it? Okay. Well, they also have Giovanni Manu at right tackle. And they have Larry Borum at left tackle when he's a right tackle. I mean, I get it that he's played everywhere, but he's primary right tackle. So it's kind of weird, right? I mean, you would think that Giovanni Manu would be your left tackle. Why is he on the right side behind Penei Sewell? That doesn't make any sense to me. He's always been on the left. I think he played a little bit of right in preseason, I think, in his first year, but outside of that, nah. I don't think so. Take it with a grain of salt, man. Nothing is going to stick until they get through OTAs and training camp. All right, let's finish with the mock draft. Let's finish with a mock draft. Have some fun with it. I'm going to get out of here. I need to relax today. At least a little bit. See if I can make this a little bigger. Nope. There we go. Okay. We're going to do all teams. This is the first time I've done every team in the first round. Yeah, we'll do it. Why not? We'll do it quick. All right, here we go. We're on the clock. Fernando Mendoza is going number 1. I need to get up my sheet. I've been working on my sheet, my draft needs. Right now, you know, I was evaluating the Jets because someone had the Jets taking. Here, you know what? Let me pull up Mel Kiper's draft board. Now, this is just this is a draft board, so it's not his top 50. This is his draft board. Okay. So he has the Jets taking David Bailey, outside linebacker. Now, David Bailey, in my opinion, is an edge. I guess he could be an outside linebacker. It depends on where teams want to put him. I don't see that happening. As much as I think that Aaron Glenn wants or should take defense and probably wants to take defense, let's look at their depth chart for a minute. They have Will McDonald on one side, and you have Joseph Osayi on the other side. That they just paid Joseph Osayi. They just brought him in, and they have 8 defensive ends already. Now, 5 of these guys are a bunch of nobodies, but they have Kingsley Enabare behind Joseph Osayi. So could they use another number 1 defensive end? Absolutely, they could. They got Kiko Maui-Goa at the will. They got Demario Davis at the mic. They got Kobe King, who they just brought in last year, I believe, who got like no snaps, as their Sam in front of Michael Walker. That doesn't make any sense, ESPN. Michael Walker should be up front. Their corners are good. Quantez Stiggers, the guy, I believe he was from Canada. Alzarea Thomas is pretty good. Andre Sisco's good at strong safety. Minka's great at free safety. Brandon Stevens is pretty good at right corner. They could look, to do an upgrade there, but they also have Nashawn Wright. And then they have Jarvis Brownlee, who's a damn good nickelback. So when I look at their defense, I don't necessarily see where taking a defensive player makes a lot of sense. They brought in Trevonde Sweat to the interior. They have Harrison Phillips. They brought in David Animiata. They have Mozzie Smith behind him. Like, they are loaded. They have Jamian Sherwood, who got a big bag last year. I don't know why he would be in a backup role. Their defense is loaded. Loaded. Where do they need the most help? Well, they did bring back Breece Hall, but that doesn't mean that they don't need a running back. They have 3 receivers, but that doesn't mean that Isaiah Williams is the best option there as their third wide receiver. Their depth in wide receiver is pretty bad, but I would say that they're probably going to attack that in the second or the third round. Their tight end. Oh, wait a second. Their tight ends are trash. Can we honestly think for a moment here that Kenan Sadiq could be the second pick in the first round in going to the Jets? Because their tight end room is not good. I don't care about the fullback. I think that's a wasted position. But their offensive line is okay. They have Membu and Olu Fashino. I mean, those guys are really good. Joe Tippmann's great at right guard. They could probably use an upgrade at Josh Myers or Dylan Parham, but it's a little early to take a center. So if I'm looking at the first round, I'm saying I've got guard, tight end, wide receiver, after tight end, unless they want to go with Carnell Tate, or maybe the Jets trade back. Maybe they trade back and stack some picks here. I promise I'm not going to go through all this with every pick because I just don't have time for it anyway. So maybe they take some picks here and they trade back a little bit. Maybe the Lions move all the way up to number 2. I mean, crazier things have happened. So I just don't see where Bailey or Reese or Styles would make a lot of sense, but at the same time, I don't think you pass on a player like that. So for me, I think they're going to trade back. Again, look at their linebacker room real quick. One more time. You could probably use an upgrade at the will slot. I'd have to look into Kiko Maui-Goa just a little bit more. Let's just do it real quick. No. Yep, I guess that is him. Thought that was the other Maui-Goa. I mean, his grades are absolute trash last year as a rookie. And I don't even know where they got him at. Where did they get him? 5th round. So they could definitely use an upgrade right there. So Will linebacker on defense. Guard, tight end, wide receiver. I think that those are probably the top areas of need for the Jets. So for me, it wouldn't be Bailey. I would probably go with Reese right here, or Sonny Styles, but probably Reese. That's who I'm going with. All right, Cardinals, they're on the board. Let's just take a quick look at the Cardinals. And I'll have all this done before we do a lot of these in the future. I just started working all this up today because I have a lot of work left to do to get ready for the draft. They definitely need a quarterback. There's not going to be one there. James Conner's pretty good at running back. He'll be healthy this year. I think Tyler Algier is a good backup. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Jeremiah Love. Marvin Harrison, stud. Michael Wilson turned out to be a stud last year. Kendrick Bourne, I believe, was injured last season. But they're pretty slim in the wide receiver room as far as really good depth. Trey McBride, stud. Paris Johnson, I mean, he'll get you through the season. Isaac Suamalo is good. They definitely could use a right guard. I mean, their center could get him through the season. They're really light in the center department, and they could probably use a right tackle. So if I'm the Cardinals on offense, what is this creating account stuff? What is this doing? Stop. Oh my God. What is it doing? It's just freaking out on me. So I think I would pass on wide receiver. I mean, quarterback, clearly. But that's not going to happen this year. They're probably just going to roll through it with Jacoby Brissett. I would go right tackle. Or any tackle, honestly. And or any guard. They got Josh Sweat. Roy Lopez is back. They have Walter Nolan in the middle from last season. Darius Robinson. I mean, they're pretty good up front. They have Andrew Billings as a backup. PJ Mustipher as a backup. They're okay with some depth. They could use some depth there. You get that in the second, third, fourth round. Mac Wilson's pretty good at the middle. Buda Baker's solid at strong safety. Andrew Wingard's okay at free safety. They could definitely use a corner. And I would say that they could probably use a linebacker. So if I'm the Cardinals, given the fact that, I mean, they need depth like everybody else. I think their wide receiver room is good enough, but I'll throw a wide receiver in here too. I'm probably taking a right tackle here, honestly. And I know that's crazy, but you have Francis Mauigoa here, and this dude's an absolute stud right tackle. And you could move him inside. So I'm going Mauigoa. They need to protect their quarterback of the future, which they're going to get next year. All right, so up next is the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they just spent so much money. Let's see. What are the chances of we moving to 3 to 4? No, I don't know what the chances are, but I mean, that was one of the trades that I put up today is that the Lions move up between 4, 5, and 6. And we would give up this year's first, so 17. We'd give up next year's first. We would give up 118 this year. We would give up a third-round pick next year. And I think that's the floor to be able to move up to 5 or 6. And if I were to put odds on it, probably 20% chance. So pretty low odds. But if you move up and you save $16 million AAV by getting rid of those draft picks and you go out and get Sonny Styles, right, or Arvel Reese or Bailey, whoever's available there, man, you just brought in a game changer for the future, for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's okay to give up that kind of draft capital to bring in somebody like that. It's worth it if you believe in the player. All right, so the Tennessee Titans just got really good. They're good with Cam Ward. They're good with Tony Pollard. They're good with Calvin Ridley, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alec Eonamor. I mean, they're solid there. They need a tight end. Gunnar Helm's not the answer. Left tackle, Dan Moore. Peter Skronsky's solid. Austin Schlottman's solid. They might look to address that later in the draft. Cordell Volson, I'm not very versed on him. So I'm just going to pop in right guard here for a minute. And I'm going to pop in left tackle. I'll take this one step further. I'm going to look up Dan Moore. Because this is another chance where you can get your stud And I don't remember Dan Moore last year. Or does he even play? Sure as hell don't look like it. Wow. He didn't play at all in 24 either? What's going on here? What's up with this? Oh, that's him. He hasn't played at all? 2021 fourth round pick? How do they have no stats for this guy? Oh, it's stuck on defense. Jesus. I thought something was wrong. I was like, that can't be. His grades are not great. Gave up 8 sacks last year. Do you think that they need a new tackle? Probably. Dude gave up 8 sacks. That's insane. 8 sacks. And he's still on your team? Oh my God, he gave up 12 sacks in 24? He's given up more than 7 sacks every season. 42 sacks in 5 years. Yeah, they need a tackle. You know, in a bad way. So, God, ESPN, stop. So, left tackle. Is it too early to take the left tackle here? Probably. Then again, are you going to get another chance? Their remaining picks, I don't know because I don't have them in front of me, but they can get a left tackle because they're picking so early. They're going to be able to get a left tackle in the second round. And I wouldn't even waste that pick here. So I'm going to move away from offense. They probably need right guard. Again, you could probably do that later unless you go with. Oh, there he is. Spencer Fano. So there's a right tackle. They need a left tackle. I don't know that he can move over. But we heard talking with All 22 that Fano could be moving inside to center. So that means that the move inside to guard is also a possibility. There's Monroe Freeling. Well, he's definitely a left tackle. So Monroe Freeling could make a lot of sense here. And that's who I'm going to take. You're going to get your guard and you're going to get your right tackles in that second round. And if the Titans are smart, they need to protect Cam Ward. That is their number one asset. So you're not going to go reach for this crazy good, defender when you really need to protect Cam Ward. They put some significant stock into him last year. All right, the New York Giants. Now, last year and the year before, I do these really long, picks like this. But normally I have all my notes done. Like everything I'm doing live right now, I do all that behind the scenes and I go a lot deeper. This is just the quick and dirty. This is not true evaluation. I'll go watch film. I'll pull every stat I can. I'll go in and probably look at 500 players between now and the draft just to assemble my board. That's how I'm able to get 26 out of 32 right or 28 out of 32 right in the first round. Okay, so just rolling through it here. Jackson Dart's your starter. Cam Scatterbo should be good. Malik Neighbors should be good. Darius Slayton's fine. Darnell Mooney's okay. They're backed up with Kelvin Austin. Isaiah Hodgins. So they may or may not necessarily need a wide receiver, but I'm putting wide receiver on the board because even though you have Malik Neighbors, he was injured last year, and then that offense fell apart. I wouldn't even put out running back. I mean, Cam Scatterbo's coming back from a crazy injury. I wouldn't even be surprised if Jeremiah Love goes here. They bring in Isaiah Likely, so we don't have to worry about tight end. Again, I don't care about the fullback position. I think it's so stupid the teams have a fullback. Ella Manure at right tackle should be okay. John Runyon. God, he's old, isn't he? 28 years old. Man, he's been around. I'll look something up. Giants had the 9th best lineup last year on the offensive line when they were healthy. The Giants' offensive line was surprising in 2025, to say the least. They ranked 30th in PFF in pass blocking, though, in 2024, and then they ended up in 4th place last season with an 87.6. So they gave up 30 sacks in 24. They only surrendered 15 last season, and it was largely due to the emergence and high-level play of their veteran right tackle, Illuminor. He gave up a pressure rate of just 3.3%. Their best player was Andrew Thomas, and their lowest graded was Embo had a rough year, and Runyon. So they're definitely needing a left guard. If they really want to upgrade, they need a left guard. Okay, let's go to defense. Alexander, Lawrence, those guys are solid. Burns is solid. Edmonds, they just brought in. McFadden, Kayvon Thibodeau, my God. Paulson Adebo, Tyler Nubin, Javon Holland, Greg Newsome, Drew Phillips. Man, they are loaded. They got Deontay Banks backing them up, Elijah Campbell, Abdul Carter. Golly. The only thing that I see here is probably the right defensive end. Roy Robertson Harris looks like he is the weakest link. .6'5", 290, drafted in 2016, so he's got more than 10 seasons. Wow. Yeah, he's trash. And I mean that word in the nicest way possible. His grades have never been good. His tackling is god-awful. His pass rush is terrible. How is he still on this squad? All right, so right defensive end. He's listed at defensive line. Right defensive end. That is probably their number one. On defense, wide receiver, left guard. Left guard you can get later. Let's look at the ends. Okay, so let's whittle this down to edge. You got Ruben Bain. Now, the short arm syndrome I don't think is going to work. David Bailey, 6'3", 250. Let's see. Giants run a 3-4. Right? They run a 3-4. Yeah, they got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they run a 3-4. So they need a bigger guy. And that's where Keldrick Falk makes some sense. It's a bit early for Falk. You could just go straight to the defensive tackle that has pass rush upside. Let's take a look at defensive line. Caden McDonald, he's like 330. Yeah, he's 326, so he might be a little heavy. Caleb Banks makes some sense here, but he's also a big boy, but he moves a little bit better. Peter Woods, he's a little bit lighter at 310. Christian Miller at 310. I think that they're going to want a bigger guy here. And you know, so Ruben Bain's not big enough. He's close. He's 270. Bailey is 250. He's definitely not it. I'm just going by the height, weight, speed now. Everything that Brad Holmes loves, right? Okay, so if they're not super crazy about what's on the board, I'm just going to pull the crazy move here, and I'm going to say that they're going to go with a heavier guy that is going to delay in pass rush, but he's got the prerequisite height here and weight to fit in as a 3-4 edge rusher. Keldrick Falk. I mean, it's the first one I've done. I've still got about 10 more to go before we get to the draft. All right, next up, we got the Browns. You guys didn't expect all this tonight, did you? I know. I didn't either. I mean, I might as well just do it with you guys since I'm going to do it anyway. Tonight. It's just taking me a little bit longer to do it. Think they're going to get a quarterback here? Wouldn't that be nuts? Quinshon Judkins at running back. I think they're gonna be okay there. Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. They definitely need a wide receiver. Definitely need a wide receiver. Harold Fannin. They definitely need a tight end. Kenyon Sadiq is gonna be pissed. DeJuan Jones at left tackle. I have a feeling he's not very good. Zion Johnson should be okay. Alden Jenkins should be okay. Tevin Jenkins should be okay. Titus Howard. I'm not so sure. All right, DeJuan Jones last season, he only played in 3 games. 143 offensive snaps. His grades were 32, 30, and 47. My God. The year before, he only played half a season, barely, and his grades were in the trash. And then in 23, he played only 712 snaps, and his grades were in the trash. Yeah, 4th round pick, DeJuan Jones. Definitely they need a left tackle if they're trying to keep Shedeur Sanders breathing. That would be my guess. I think all the other positions you could probably wait on. Left defensive end, Alex Wright. I honestly don't know much about him. But their defense was pretty good last year. Yeah, he was pretty decent last year. Like, good season. Took him 4 years to get there, but that's a good season. Malik Collins, we know he's good. Mason Graham's good. Myles Garrett's good. The Will linebacker, Koramoah, Carson Sweshkin, they're fine. Quincy Williams, he's good. Grant Delpit, Ronnie Hickman, Tyson Campbell. Corner. Campbell only played in 5 games last year. Grades were not the greatest. His coverage was 51. He was allowing only a 51% reception rate, which is pretty good, but he was only targeted 37 times, and I mean, so he was tested. I mean, he was targeted about 6 times a week. And he was only giving up about 3 catches a game. So that may not be an immediate need, but then you got Miles Harden at nickel, Ronnie Hickman at free safety. Let's check out Hickman. He's been in the league for 2 seasons, entering his 3rd year. He had a fairly decent season last year. He's been pretty good all 3 seasons at safety. So he's fine. Isn't Grant Delpit like 100 years old? I feel like that name has been around forever. Oh, he had a pretty damn good season last year, too. He's only been in the league for 5 years. He's going into his 6th season. He's fine. So defensively, I mean, I would say outside of depth, their starting defense is solid. They need some depth, though. And there's going to be plenty of opportunity later. So wide receiver, tight end, left tackle. Who's on the board? Or running back. You can definitely upgrade over Quinshon Judkins. There's just not a lot of tackles in this draft. There's really not. Guard. Hold on. Zion Johnson, Tevin Jenkins. I can't remember which one they just brought in, but I know they brought somebody in. I thought. Or maybe they re-signed Tevin. Yeah, he was with Chicago the year before, but Tevin Jenkins is fine. He's good to go. They just brought him in. Thought that name sounded right. The right tackle, Titus Howard. Look at him one more time. He's been in the league since 2019. He's average at best. Pass blocking's okay. Run blocking is terrible. So you've got right tackle you can add in there too. And Zion Johnson, how's he been doing? Been in the league since 2022. His grades are below average. I mean, look at how many sacks he's been giving up. Jesus. 21 sacks, 36 hits, 84 hurries. So left guard. They need an offensive line, man. It's no wonder why none of their quarterbacks can survive. They need an offensive line. And the players that are on the board right now, I would say Olavivega alone is probably the best one to plug and play in at left guard. Now his career so far has been at left guard, so that would make a lot of sense. You control the interior, and then maybe you find a left tackle a little bit later, Max Nihanachor in the second round. I think that they'll probably get a shot at if he doesn't go in the first, which it's still possible he might. It's still possible that he might. There's going to be a couple of guys slipping. Like Nihanachor right now is rated in the first round, which is craziness. I expected it, but I just can't believe it. I think you want to protect your quarterback. I'm going Loney. I know this whole first round just got busted, right? But I'm going to keep this, and we'll look back at it. Every one that I do, which one was the closest? How many do I get right? I'm doing this all off the cuff. Hardly any research at all into the teams. I've done the research into the players, but now I got to match it up to the teams, right? That's the biggest thing. Commanders. Let's take a look at Mel Kiper. What did he say? Let's see what he said for all these. Mendoza, Bailey, Reese, Love, Downs, Monroe Freeling. Okay, so we're on the same pace here with an offensive lineman. Sonny Styles to Washington, and I could agree with that too. Carnell Tate to the Saints. He might even go earlier. Ruben Bain, that makes sense, but I also think Jeremiah Love makes a lot of sense there too. This Sonny Styles is going here for sure, or you could see. My God, if they had their pick of the litter like this, what would you do? I would definitely go safety or running back here. Jeremiah Love to Washington. Could you imagine? What's their offense looking like? How many people do we have in? 50? Okay. Jaden Daniels. Here, you guys can see it better now. Ja'Cory Croskett Merritt. They definitely need a running back. They picked up Rashad White, though, so that's interesting. Terry McLaurin's good. McCaffrey's good. Treylon Burks has really not worked out for anybody. They just brought in Chig. Tunsil, Paul, Nick Allegretti, Sam Cosmi, Josh Connolly they got last year. Tim Settle they just brought in. They got Deron Payne, Kinlaw, Oweh they just brought in. Luvu, Chanel they just brought in. Chason they just brought in. They got Trey Amos last year. Nick Cross they just brought in. They just brought in Amik Robertson. Yeah. Yep. See ya, Jeremiah Love. New Orleans Saints, they need everything. They need everything, but they're not passing on the wide receiver here. I don't think. They got Olave, Tipton. Yeah, they need a receiver. They got 8, but Olave is like the best one they have. I don't even know Devon Veal, and I don't know how good he is. Oh, their page sucks. What is going on? Why can't I get a 2026 step chart? That's last year's. It has to be last year's. That looks really old. All right. I'm not going to be able to get a Saint step chart to save my life. But I'm still going the receiver here. You could go linebacker. There's definitely more receivers later. All right. We'll do it. Saints is taking Sonny. And see, and if this truly happened this way and Sonny Styles was still available at 8, I highly doubt the Commanders are going to trade with the Lions. But, I mean, this is where I see the Lions moving up. I mean, you've got your shot right now at Mansour Delane, David Bailey, Ruben Bain, which I wouldn't take Ruben Bain, Dylan Thieneman, Spencer Fano, Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, there's plenty of players here that are going to fall to the Lions at 17. Like, there's going to be a great player at 17. Kansas City Chiefs. Well, I didn't give them Jeremiah Love, but traded McDuffie. They lost Jalen Watson. So they gave him Ruben Bain. Honestly, I kind of want him to take Bain just because I don't like his arm length, but they need a corner. Mansour Delane. All right, Bengals. Wow. It's crazy. I just spelled that all nutty. Orlando Brown, Fairchild, Karras, Risner, Mims, Miles Murphy, Allen, Boy Mafi. What is going on with these pages? Why do they keep failing? Something's not right. All right, I'm going to have to go without depth charts because I can't get anything to load right now that's worth a damn. All right, Mel Kiper thinks corner. I mean, obviously we know they need that. Edge also makes sense. What else is he talking about? I think edge or corner would make sense here too. And you have Ruben Bain, you have David Bailey staring at you in the face. You have Caleb Downs staring at you. And those all three of those picks would be great. I think Cincinnati's going to value Bailey. But we'll give him Bain. I really don't think Bain goes in the top 10, though. All right, Miami, they need everybody. What don't they need? Guard, DB, wide receiver this early. They lost Tyreek. They're taking Tate. Cowboys, they definitely need another edge. They need defensive line. Corner, linebacker. Yeah. Well, we're going to give them. I know I can't stand him, but I can't stand the Cowboys. Jermod McCoy. All right, Rams. They just brought in another wide receiver, didn't they? I would say that they're probably going to go tackle above all else. I mean, they don't want Matthew Stafford getting banged up, and they're trying to make a run for it. If they really need a tackle, you can get one later. Can absolutely get one later. They don't really need a receiver, but I could see them adding another one. Simply because of Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, their health. I mean, who knows? Both of them were injured last year. Colby Parkinson, Higbee, Ferguson, they got all their tight ends to run their 13 personnel. But was it Alaric Jackson last year that had the problem? Wasn't he injured last season quite a bit? Oh, maybe he wasn't. I thought he was injured last year. Okay, was it the other one? Could have sworn Jackson missed a game. Or 2 or 3, but it doesn't look like he did. Oh, this guy did. He missed the first 4 weeks. And then he missed a few more weeks. But his grades are stellar. For being a young guy, his grades were off the chart last year. I mean, I don't think they do anything with McClendon there. And I think Alaric Jackson is just, I don't know. Yeah, right there. 3 months ago. Didn't play against the Falcons. Oh, some sex video. Okay. That's starting to make more sense now. Spencer Fano, see you later. Baltimore Ravens. They need everything. We're almost halfway there. God, I could see him taking Kenyon Sadiq. I know that doesn't sound like a pick that would go to them. But you give Kenyon Sadiq to Lamar Jackson. He spreads the field. They both spread the field. And they have old-ass Mark Andrews. Yep. See ya. Tampa Bay. They definitely would have loved to have that tight end. Tampa Bay is taking a receiver. I don't know why they're not even giving the Bucs a wide receiver option on this. Man, I can't spell today. They have Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, and Jalen McMillan, and they lost Evans. I mean, you need to replace Evans, don't you? Cameron Johnson, Tez Johnson, Dennis Houston, Garrett Green, Jaden Smith. None of those guys stack up. I mean, Chris Godwin is good when he's healthy. Emeka Egbuka, I mean, he's phenomenal. Honestly, Jalen McMillan wasn't too bad last year. They definitely could use a tight end, but there's really not a tight end you're going to take right now. Cody Mock, they could probably use an upgrade over Cody Mock. I don't think he had a very good season last year. Graham Barton's fine in the center. But this Ben Bredesen. No, Love didn't fall to the Rams. Love's gone a long time ago. All right, Bredesen. Bredesen could use an upgrade. Yeah, he's not been good at all. So, left guard. Who's available for a left guard? Oh, he got pregnant there, but he's at 36. Basantis, Rutledge. They'll probably do that with their next pick. Take a tight end in the third. They need edge. They need linebacker. They need guard. All right, David Bailey, see ya. Jets again. Who did I give to the Jets the first time? Arvell Reese. Wide receiver, corner, quarterback. You know what? Kyle Lemon's off the board. All right, so here we are. Tackle, defensive line, linebacker. And the only tackle that makes any sense right here is Caden Proctor. The only defensive lineman that makes any sense here would be Peter Woods or Caleb Banks. And I think Caleb Banks is too risk, it's risk reward with him. He's a risky player. When his motor's on and running, the guy's unstoppable, but when he's not, he's done. Peter Woods, I do like. But I've got to stick and pick with Caden. I mean, I would probably trade back. If all of these players were on the board right here, the way that this is, Caleb Downs, Dylan Thieneman, CJ Allen, Jordan Tyson, Akeem Messidor, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I would definitely be trading down. Because if you trade down 3 spots, you could still get one of Caleb Downs, Dylan Thieneman, Akeem Messidor, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Avion Terrell, Blake Miller, if that's your cup of tea, and Caden Proctor. If you traded back 6 spots, you could get one of those 6 guys. And I would say that that's a great win, but you probably don't have first-round picks on all of them. So I personally would take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren here because these guys don't come around very often, and I don't trust Kirby. And I just think that that's the play. I do. I really do. I think that would be the play with all 3 of those safeties on the board. If the Lions have some guts, they're going to try to move back up, at the pick 20 or 21, 22, something like that, and be able to get Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Caden Proctor or one of those 2, and then one of the defensive linemen or edge and TJ Parker. But I'm not going to string this out. I'm going to take my guy. Where is he? There he is. I wish I could just run through these on its own. Simulate it after I'm done picking. All right, so Thieneman goes to the Vikings. We'll follow with Kuiper. What does he have left? Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. So my board is falling with the second half. I could agree with that. Cowboys again, CJ Allen. I was going to give them CJ Allen in the beginning. What else does he have? Pittsburgh. Well, Loney is gone. Okay. Tyson, see ya. Peter Woods is on my board. That would make sense there. Eagles, Max Ahanichor. Yeah, it makes sense too. They're thinking of Ahanichor as a developmental prospect, and yeah, I would say that Ahanichor is going to come in and lock it down. Safety, edge, tackle, wide receiver. Look, the Eagles love their safeties. I don't know why they need another safety right now. I mean, they have plenty. I mean, Darius Slay is done, so maybe they want to take a corner here. What does the Eagles depth chart look like? Quinn and Mitchell. Yeah, they brought in Weak Woolen, Sidney Brown, Makuba. Yeah, they're solid. Jalix Hunt, Jihad Campbell, Zach Bond, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. My God, my God, my God. Abiketi, Byron Young, Trotter, Keely Ringo, Michael Carter. They are loaded. Hurts, Barkley, Brown. Brown's gone, isn't he? Yeah, Brown's gone. It's 25s. It's not this year. Tackle. I don't think they expected Blake Miller to be on the board, but that's where he's going. Cleveland Browns. I can't believe they got quarterback on the board. That's just hilarious. I gave them the guard already. And if they need another tackle, I could definitely see them taking Ahanichor. There's plenty of wide receivers later. Chicago Bears are going to take a punter. God, I hate the Bears. I hate them more now than I've ever hated them before. They need a center. It's way too early to take a center. Defensive lineman and safety. If Caleb Downs is really here, that's where he goes. Buffalo Bills, guard, defensive line, linebacker, safety. That all makes sense. What does Kuiper say? Oh, Avion Terrell. Okay. That's not even on PFF's list. That's GM shocked. Yeah, I don't think that you're going to pass on one of these defensive linemen here. There's not a linebacker that I would take. Not this early. Still got Caleb Lumu there. Zion Young. Defensive line. And I wonder if Cassius Howell is going to move to 3-4. The only guard option here would be Emmanuel Pregnon at 36, and that makes a ton of sense. I think Pregnon would go to the Bills. I think that makes a lot of sense. If he's there, if he's on the board. San Fran, there are 50,000 comp picks, I'm sure. Safety, is there a safety? I think they're all gone. Tackle, there's a tackle left. Left tackle too. Lomu. Texans, running back, later, center, later, guard, later, defensive line makes sense. McDonald. Chiefs, wide receiver, absolutely. Defensive back, absolutely. Avion Terrell. Dolphins, wide receiver, guard, DB. Omar Cooper. Defensive line, linebacker, tackle. Lee Hunter. And last but not least, man, does Cassius Howell make... I think Cassius Howell is a perfect player for Seattle. There you go. That's my board for the first round. Half of it, I did a little diagnosing. The last half, I did half of a half-ass diagnosis. I wasn't planning on doing all that, but there you go. I mean, I would say that that's a pretty solid board, honestly. You don't get grades for these? Oh. Oh, well. Downloaded. All right, I'm out. You guys have a wonderful night. I'm glad you joined me. I'm glad that the Lions finally picked up an edge rusher. And we don't have anything to worry about right now other than left tackle. I think that is the most glaring need right now on this team. There's really none available in free agency. But I'll say it again. Penei Sewell is your left tackle right now until he's not. So I think that we're operating from out front. We've got, half a dozen right tackles on this team. And we have Giovanni Manu, who, if you ask Raw B, he's going to be the next, oh my God, what's his name? I just forgot his name. Holy cow, what is his name? He's the Eagles tackle, former rugby player. You know who I'm talking about. I can't remember his name right now. And I'm just messing with you, Raw. So I think that that's our biggest glaring need right now. That safety, I would in linebacker. But are those really glaring needs when you've got multiple draft picks to be able to go do something? Yeah, Jordan Mailata. There we go. All right, not bad for a pop-up. See you guys in the morning. Take care. Go and probably go to your Lions. You know what to do.
Pressured by Hutchinson. He goes down.